Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Now this video is going to be a little bit of a correction on the previous video that I made. Maybe you remember a while ago I made a video about Ableton's rendering and how I thought it could be improved. So this is going to be a slight correction because I overlooked something, and the reason why I overlooked it is actually pretty obvious once I tell you the story. But for now, let's first look into what I actually overlooked. So in that video, if you remember, this is the project. What I wanted was for my general setup, which looks something like this. You have whatever group that I have, say the leads or the drums or the basses within my project. They all go to a sum bus, which then go into my final master, which then goes to my actual master. That is my setup for the template and for all of the projects that I do. So what I wanted from that was to be able to render multiple things at the same time and also have those things go through groups and the sum bus and the final master. Whatever is on that track needed to be, burnt into the render that I wanted to do in terms of effects and everything. So if you remember this setup here, we have this EQ, which is just removing all of the low end as a test, and that is on the group to show you if this is actually happening or not. If you render it out and it still has low end, that means that it takes the output of this track and outputs that directly. So going into the rendering, what I suggested was when you use all individual tracks or selected tracks only, what it would do is it would just take the output of whatever track at the output of the track. It would not actually run it through the group and the master and whatever sends and whatever else you have going on. Now I actually didn't mention this include returns and masters effect, which in this case now is turned on for me. At the time it was turned off. And what this button does is it actually pushes all of those outputs through the group before creating the render. So essentially it does what I wanted to do. The problem was that I was still on my old PC and I had experimented a little bit with it. I had turned it on for one of the renders where I did multiple tracks. So it ran out of, I believe it ran out of RAM or something like that, and it just, not responding. I had to open up Task Manager and close it manually with the Task Manager, ending the task just to make Ableton crash basically. So for me at the time, it wasn't the solution that worked. But now with this new PC, it actually works as a solution and I can use this to render something. So if you have seen that video, this is a little bit of an update just telling you that this effect is in there. I believe there were also people mentioning it in the comments. I would have to look that up. But it is still in there and you can actually use it and it works as intended. The other thing that I talked about in that video still seems to be a problem where you get a little silence if you have a setup like this, like the project file that I have here. And you put something on the master and then you bypass it, you get a little bit of silence at the start of each render, which is very annoying to deal with because you have to actually delete your mastering stuff. You cannot actually use your production master or whatever else you have on your temporary master track to actually export or something like that. Now I know there are people that are going to say, well, you shouldn't use a production master, and now I agree with them. Back when I was making the album, the very first tracks of the album, I didn't. And I would have a production master. I would like what that sounded like. Obviously not knowing that I was going to do a whole export, mix separately and then master separately thing. I thought that I was getting close to the final product there. But I've since changed my workflow. But still, I believe that you should have a DAW that is versatile, and issues like this where it introduces silence in certain cases into renders, even if there shouldn't be, is just an error that does not need to happen. So on that front, there's still a problem with Ableton, but it's not as big because I can still export the way that I want to in regards to exporting multiple tracks at once. So that's what I wanted to talk about for today. It's a little bit of a correction video, just a small one. I hopefully have some more interesting stuff coming up. Now, if you want to see that and you aren't subscribed yet, I highly recommend that you do. And if you want to receive messages whenever I upload something, small notifications from YouTube, you can turn on the bell icon. That's right next to the subscribe button. But that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.